Gracious ladies and gentlemen, in coming to you this afternoon, it is to bring to you a greater degree and level of awareness of the importance of your mission viewed from a divine standpoint. Individuals enamored by the various activities of the world are from time to time caught up in those activities and totally become unaware in many cases of the solemn responsibilities of heaven and the attendant grace that flows constantly from higher octaves unto mankind. Those of you who hold a more than ordinary awareness of the flow of heaven's grace are able to extend hands of hope into the ethers, and then have placed upon your hands those magnificent elements of cosmic grace by which the saints also were raised. Let me say to you then this afternoon, in the name of the living God, that the torch of freedom that has been passed to you is one which requires review from time to time. It is necessary for embodied mankind to comprehend and to understand that universal grace has been vouchsafed to them. Otherwise, they may well forget the grace of God and the mercies of God, caught up in human conflict and mortal delusion. For the strands of Maya indeed enclose the world in a cloister, which is not always to their liking even when viewed from an outer standpoint. But when viewed from an inner standpoint, it is wholly reprehensible to the soul. For the soul desires to breathe the air of freedom and to recognize that freedom is the only means whereby the individual may rise, and in that rise prepare itself for the great adventure of becoming one with God. I am called Sanctus Germanus. I am your brother of light, who is devoted entirely to the externalization of the Christ consciousness within the domain of your being. Unless this be carried out, unless you yourselves accept this grace which heaven has given to you as though it were indeed your own, which it really is, I fear also for the family of nations. For throughout the world the will to fail exists side by side with the will to succeed. And then there is also that which may be called no will at all, for it is a matter of man's involvement in senseless delusion and fear. I want then this day to bring to you greater awareness of who and what you are, that you may understand the solemn responsibilities attendant upon becoming a keeper of the flame in actuality. For heaven has thus far, for all of you, kept the flame blazing upon the altar of your heart as an activity of cosmic charity. I am sure that you would not want it to continue so, but desire instead to literally bank your own fires by infusing them with enough divine charge to carry you through the long night of mankind's sorrows and despondency, until such a time as the brilliance of the dawn and the realization of what the opportunities of life mean to you can become a vital, breathing, living essence in your consciousness, which essence will transpose the meaning of life into new dimensions of spiritual desires and apprehensions. Then, when you are able to garner enough grace from heaven itself, you will no longer question as to whether or not you are able to accomplish any good thing, but you will recognize that all you have to do is to put the law into operation in your own force field, the force field of your being, and summon that energy in the name of God, which will produce the exact manifestation and precision accomplishment which you desire to achieve. The mere will to achieve in itself is not enough, for man must learn the process whereby he can invoke the will of God into living conscious participation with Him in the ritual of precipitating those specific desires which produce all things for mankind, and specifically for those sons of heaven who are blessed with a more than ordinary manifestation of universal grace. Now, grace, ladies and gentlemen, is the quality of the Holy Spirit which is given to all. It contains the most lofty ambitions, those ambitions calculated to bring to all mankind a renewal of the covenant of life. But man do not always understand the meaning of the covenant of life, for they are often recipients of a good invoked for them by another, which they have no particular idea whatsoever as to its real meaning. But would you deny this quality to the seeker, or even to he who is not yet a seeker? For have you yourselves not been also blessed with a renewal of your identity, a fashioning of cosmic banners for yourself, which banners have brought you to a greater level of awareness? Well then, don't you think, ladies and gentlemen, that you ought to extend to others in various levels of accomplishment, or even not accomplishment, but merely the parade of possibility before the screen of their mind, the self-same opportunities that were also given to you? Is it not a great pity that mankind will not consider how many blessings they have received, how many they can receive, what opportunities will be given to them in the future, and how the very governing of their own lives may determine that very manifestation? Well then, don't you think it is about time, beloved ones, that you should receive a greater assistance from heaven? I do. Well then, don't you also think it is time that you should think how much assistance you may give to heaven? For both activities are in the wings of manifestation. Man's great good, the great good which heaven has prepared for him, is quite frequently in the wings awaiting manifestation, at the same time that mankind are waiting to perform the manifestation of universal service to others. And if we hold both in abeyance, it will bring about quite a stultification of man's hopes and ambitions for all parts of life. For in mankind today, and I'm speaking not only, of course, of embodied mankind, but also in those who hold the ascended master consciousness near and dear, there is a firm resolve that greater progress ought to be made at both the human and divine level. If mankind, above and below, will unite in an effort of cosmic purpose, they will produce in the world of form those cosmic miracles of manifestation that are and represent the hope of heaven for the world and for the family of nations. In upholding the cosmic torch, then, reason must be accepted. And reason is indeed a person of great achievement, of great responsibility. For reason, like the spark that produces fire, is the alchemical power of man's potential, and the multiplication of that power in the world of form to such a degree that men and women working together will be able at last to direct their world without all of the human and personal mishaps which prevent them from appreciating and understanding all that heaven desires to see active in their world in response to their calls and those intercessions which men are so frequently making. Those calls for assistance, almost like the Macedonian cry, are echoing the world around. Ideas of man's thought, ideas of God's thought, and ideas even from the level of the angelic host. In invoking then for you today a more than ordinary assistance, I am calling forth not only from the heart of heaven, but also from the heart of earth, a recognition of their responsibility. It is not just a matter of summoning from the highest levels those magnificent, radiant qualities of the Godhead, but summoning here from below in physical manifestation those cosmic sparks of human endeavor which can unite with spiritual endeavor and thus perpetuate a legacy for mankind of some true greatness. What is it that hinders mankind if it is not the human concept of lag? Mankind's ideas that perhaps 1,000 years away or in some distant tomorrow, at last the world will summon those virtues and graces which will alchemically transform the world. Tomorrow is now, for in the eternal now, man is able to transform himself absolutely because he contacts that level of advancement which does not depend on the quality of human whimsy, the idea that he will summon when he is ready. Man should understand that God is ever ready, a flame, a light, a power, whose magnificence, when bursting into flame, is able to consume man's dross, and in the consumption of that dross, to release in man the fires by which Prometheus, unbound, may seize at last the spirit of world initiative and invoke those transforming attributes of man which are already resident within him. Strange is it not that mankind can fail utterly to apprehend the things of God when within themselves, in the very fabric of their soul and thought, there is already in existence those transforming qualities for which they seek. Is it not then a very iffy proposition when viewed from the human level, and a very certain proposition when viewed from the divine level? For if the vessel which is created by the life of an individual, self-created, becomes a shard of darkness, a sweep of inefficiency, might it not be best in some cases to return it to the pile of debris and remold it? What is this of which I speak? It is of calling back into the great heart of God the very energy he has sent forth and entrusted to mankind, and then observe failure after failure where individuals, through their complacency and their fears, through their distrust of the motives of one another, cannot secure any reasonable effort which they can place in the circle of nobility as a potential fait accompli. I say to you then, must we rely upon one part of the earth and the keepers of the flame fraternity there, while denying opportunity to other parts of the earth? I think not. And so today I extend to you a renewal of opportunity from the heart of one who is truly bearing the flame for mankind. The torch which I bear, I pass to you, and as I pass it to you, I pass also certain of my own energy of accomplishment. But I do not expect that this energy shall return to God void, but shall accomplish the purpose for which it is sent forth. And if the lofty purpose is to be ennobled at all, it is because you have sealed it within the focus of your heart flame. And if within your heart flame, then within the flame of possibility. And if within the flame of possibility, then within the radiance of God Himself. For another name for God is possibility, potential. The potential of the Father, Mother, God, the potential of the accomplishment of the flame. But the flame must spring up in a living haven, a place where God can be enshrined. Thus man becomes a keeper of the flame. Shall he keep the flame within his consciousness as a brittle manifestation, one that can be easily broken or extinguished, as it were? I doubt it. For such is truly not keeping the flame, but is merely a passing examination by the consciousness of the simple curiosity of a moment. Will God do it? The question is not will God do it, but will you do it? The question is one of can it be accomplished by flames working together devoid of human personality? Of course it can. But when you permit the human personality to extinguish the flame, this is scarcely an activity of divine accomplishment, but it is a dampening of the fires of purpose, one for which I would feel sorry indeed if this were to become the plight of those who have pledged their lives, their honor, and their sacred fortune to the producing in the world of some recognizable trend of the future within the force field of the present moment. Must we always behold the eclipse of mankind's destiny, or dare we hope that man will seize these opportunities as they are presented? When I come to you today bearing the mantle flame, it is the renewal of a covenant made long ago, which none of you now in embodiment are fully aware of. Yet I come even at the response of embodied individuals who sometimes hold only a dim spark. I urge upon you then the flame of being awake. Be awake unto what may well be, and it will be. Sleep, and behold the sleep of centuries. For upon mankind today, to whom is given this opportunity, there is presented now a renewal of an ancient covenant of hope. Will you pledge to me your hope then? Or will you let the flame vanish from your hearts and thus from the hearts of a people? For there are few in the world, all around the world, who are willing to recognize their potential as God's potential, their opportunity as God's opportunity of the moment. To be a keeper of the flame is a substantive activity of the sacred fire. It is a covenant trust which is given to you as you are able to receive it. Point by point, victory by victory, your faith will win new laurels for the world and for mankind. Do you think that if this were a simple matter, that God would deny it to mankind? Nay, it is through man's own failures that it has been denied. and it will be through man's covenant of success with the ascended Master consciousness, with the Christ consciousness, with the beauty of realization, that men will discover at last the true meaning of Prometheus unbound. And so that which has been bound will be bound no more. Freedom will echo, not as a lost cause in the world community, but as a cause of inspiration that must be sustained by right action. Hear this thought and capture it in the net of your consciousness, enshrine it in your heart, uphold it by your action, and perceive it as the way in which you should move. I thank you